Sound is speeding. Gabriel. Let me get some off right now.
Max!
Oh, this one's gonna be a hit! Unbelievable. Shit, I'm taking my flops off, man. Yeah. So, just so people have should we give the people a little context? We tried to get this episode off the ground, and just like the movie we're going to talk today, it tried to get off the ground, and it was a kind of a failure to launch situation.
When he says failure to launch, he really means completely crashed and burned. Yeah,
we crashed and burned. Our power, our surge protector just flipped off.
Yep. Today,
but that's what surge protectors are for, to their credit. So to the surge protector's credit, it was doing its job quite well, wasn't it?
Let's look up the temperature.
It's absolutely smoking.
In Los Angeles today. Right now it is 96 degrees. Yep. The high is going to be 97.
Awesome.
I also think that's quite possibly a lie, but
what part of that is a lie?
The fact that it could go higher, and they're just trying to protect the people by not telling the truth.
Amazing. And I think we were talking, in our first take, our first attempt at this episode before the surge protector turned off and we lost every electronic device. We were kind of talking about that.
Yeah, boy. Let's clap in.
We were talking. Oh, we gotta clap in.
Sir.
And then we'll talk about. Okay, ready? 3, 2.
And.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's super hot, 97 degrees.
It's absolutely smoke. This might be the sweatiest episode yet.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Are you getting any of this AC?
No, I am getting the AC actually.
As long as you're getting it, that's what matters.
I'm getting it.
Amazing.
Are you getting it?
Yeah, but yeah.
But you don't need it, or?
I won't say I don't need it. I just know that, like, because I don't, I just don't, Our boy's glistening over
I
here.
am
He's
drenched.
Glistening.
I'm drenched.
It's just not.
It's all right.
It's not a thing for me.
So let me ask you a question.
For me, you know what? Honestly, the danger for me with heat would be breathing. That'd be my bigger concern. If it gets too hot for my lungs, I'm asthma boy. Got my inhaler somewhere nearby.
Asthmatic.
Yeah, for sure. So as long
Asthmatic
as
nerd.
Nerd.
You freaking nerd. Remember that whole trope in early 2000s television?
Nerd.
Kid with asthma's a nerd.
Yeah, it was real cool making fun of the asthma nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow I just kept
Did that get to you?
The thing is, I was that kid with asthma who still did sports.
Yeah, so you were like, fuck you, I'm cool. I'm the
Not
cool
only am I cool,
kid.
I'm the only kid who's got an inhaler. Superhero, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So definitely didn't feel like I was, oh man, the tingles from the inhaler, dude. When you take albuterol straight to the lungs.
Is it sick?
Dude, it's like caffeine, man.
What? It is?
You feel like tingly. You feel a little bit more alert. I'm making up half of this. But you definitely feel like...
Oh, man, that sounds great.
You feel it in you, man. It's just,
can I get some of your inhaler?
Yeah, I can go get it right now if you want. It's not dangerous.
No, get it.
Yeah,
no, I'm not getting it.
It's totally safe. Totally safe. FDA approved. Anybody can use it. Anybody. Definitely not spreading misinformation.
Right. Okay. Yep. No, they're going to slap the...
slap the what?
The label on.
Slap the label.
They're gonna Spotify's gonna slap that label on of. Learn more facts about
asthmatics. Just in case you didn't learn from all the movies in the 2000s.
Yeah. Nerd. What was I gonna say? What's your temperature that you operate best at? Because I now know what mine is. I only learned this recently.
What's your temperature?
65 degrees.
Interesting.
That is why I operate. That's peak cognitive functioning for me.
I think mine's a little bit higher.
Okay.
I have a feeling that it's interesting. 65. You know what I will say? I stayed at a friend's for a couple weeks once.
Yeah.
And the house was like 58, man. Too cold.
Yeah, that's freezing.
Too cold. I couldn't focus.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling below 65, probably not a good place for me. I don't think I need above 70. There's a point in my room. My room's north-facing, so in the morning, nice and cool. Somewhere between 1 and 4 p.m., suddenly I feel just my energy levels drop. And it's simply because of the temperature. And I have a feeling that might be somewhere between 70 and 75. So I think it's a couple degrees higher than 65, but it's probably pretty similar to you. I'll throw money at 68.
Okay. Yeah, 65 for me is where I get my peak focus, cognitive function. You know, you guys are getting right now, you're getting, you know, we call Al Sleepy Al. You're getting Groggy Dale. You're getting
Groggy Dale.
Hot Dale. Not Hot Dale in the good sense.
No, it definitely in a good sense, too.
Yeah.
Dale's the hottest man ever.
I'm going to have to take a shower after this.
Absolutely.
Well, Gabe, what were we... We were talking about something important. Is there anything... Well, how are you doing? How are you? You're
Thanks for checking in. Thanks for checking in.
How are you doing before we talk about things that are actually important?
Gabe's pretty good. Before the power surge went down, I was explaining to Dale how I just finished a big project. I produced this studio called Mousepack. Look up hashtag Mousepack or tag Mousepack. And we basically pump out a ton of AR Snapchat lenses for the big snap. And long story short, sometimes we work on great R&D projects, sometimes we work on like tech prototypes, and sometimes we do lenses for big profile companies. Right now we're collaborating with ESPN on basically a college football. It's like Game Day. We're technically not using the Game Day brand, but we're working with ESPN College Football, and we're going to make this sick for the next 16 weeks. You can sign in to Snapchat, click the lens, and you'll be able to, every week, make your predictions and see if you got the predictions right or wrong with the lens. And part of the fun of it is that, like, every single team you choose, we have a custom-made mascot head that drops right on your head. It's kind of silly. It's got, like, a felt texture to it. It's pretty sick. And so you can kind of track your wins and your losses. And we have a soft launch today, and I'm like, that was like 5 weeks. You know, just
5 weeks chugging away.
Chugging away, baby. Chugging away. And on top of that, let's think, what else is going on in Gabe's land? I don't know. I guess the summer's coming to a close.
Yeah, the kids are going back to school.
That's correct.
The kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You see them getting on when I wake up, I see them getting on the school bus.
Yeah. Dale, speaking of school, go ahead, Dale. Where did you just graduate from?
I graduated from the American Film Institute. We kind of got into that in the Chase Crawford episode.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I graduated from the American Film Institute, and I finally, they have a pitch event for us at the end of our time at AFI.
Yeah.
They have a pitch event, and
it was pretty incredible because Dale has written so many scripts at AFI.
Yeah, I've written a lot of scripts.
And so he has
not even just outside of AFI.
For sure. And so on the pitch, what do you call it? The what sheet?
Oh, it's called the script list.
Yeah. So on the script list, Dale's got 3 or 4 scripts.
Four scripts. One TV, 3 features.
This guy, yes. So 4 scripts, and when he pitched, he actually pitched probably one of the most personal projects to him called Woody Planks. I know we talked about it on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and people ate it up. They absolutely ate it up.
Yeah, people. If you go back, no, I actually didn't pitch Woody Planks, but I was about to try to. I'm like, no. I actually pitched a TV version of our feature film Magnolia Flowers. Gabe plays Peter Duffy in the feature film. And so I pitched I have a TV pilot for a TV adaptation of the movie that's the same title, so that the show is called Magnolia Flowers as well. Mm-hmm. And it's really going a lot deeper into character, obviously, as TV does. It's going a lot deeper into the issues that are the mental health stuff that's touched upon in the movie. The movie, we only have so much time to really touch on these things, but
would you want to give a condensed pitch, like a 60-second
basically
version?
it's Caitlin Doyle, who's a 21-year-old college student. She is sent home from college. She's dismissed from college kind of under mysterious circumstances, and she returns home to her house in Massachusetts. Her mother, they're latchkey kids, the Doyle siblings. So it's Caitlin, Connell, and Adam. They're latchkey kids. They're children of a single mother who's never really around, and so they're sort of left to do whatever they wish in the house their mom pays for but never sleeps in. So it's kind of a modern Lord of the Flies type situation. There's kind of hints of The Sopranos in there. Caitlin is kind of the Tony Soprano of the show, except, obviously mentally ill college student, not a mentally ill Italian mobster. Because what you learn is that Caitlin was actually dismissed from school. She's trying to cover up the reason why she was dismissed from school for, to be strong in front of all these boys, and the boys find out that she was suicidal, which is sort of rattles their world. And Caitlin's journey, the show is really about how Caitlin's journey toward finally dealing with her mental illness, her mental health issues, how that journey sort of changes the boys' lives for forever as well, because she forces them to look at themselves differently, to look at the world around them differently, to treat each other differently, and she's a catalyst for a lot of change. And she also changes a lot over the course of the series, the way I see it. So it's an exciting project.
Heck yeah.
And
there's
there isn't anything like it on TV that I know of.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's a very special project to me. It's a really cool world. And, Magnolia Flowers teases out kind of like there's this whole world that, there's Chucky and Chucky's basement, and there's like all these spots around town, and there's the house. And so like it's the world builder, the storyteller in me gets really excited about this project. And, hopefully we could actually get it made on some level. You and I have talked about that,
Yeah.
but we'll see. But yeah, that's what I pitched at the pitch event. And then I have 3 other features on my docket that are on the AFI script list 2022. If you're in the business, if you're in the entertainment business, you can AFI, if you ask for it, AFI will send you it if you don't have it in your email inbox already. So, yeah. And you can see all my log lines in there, my contact info is in there. And yeah, this is just becoming a plug.
This is great.
You can also reach out to my manager, Andy, at analathambi@rangemp.com. So, yeah.
So, long story short, we got big transitions at the end of August, top of September.
Yep, big transitions.
And even then, like, this is week 9 of the Movie Addicts podcast.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep chugging along with this. This is a big old experiment. We want to see how long we can go for.
We're going to see how far it can go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gabe and I are very excited about, for those of you who have, I want to give like a little shout out to like the people who have been watching. We have like a little tiny little audience now.
Yeah.
Tiny little audience, but there are people who are consistently listening. Most of whom are people we know directly or indirectly. Some of whom we don't know personally.
For sure.
And so thank you for listening.
Absolutely, thank you.
I know we do a lot of fucking around on the podcast, but
it's meant to be a hang. We want you to hang.
We're meant to hang. It's meant to be a hang. It's meant to be an honest podcast. We try not to come in with too much pretense.
We try not to edit anything.
Yeah, we really try to keep it like we really don't edit very much. Only if we need to. So, yeah. This is just, hopefully, if you enjoy this podcast and you have friends who also enjoy movies, talking about movies, like, please recommend this podcast to them.
Share.
Because we want to keep growing it and taking it as far as it can go.
Mm-hmm.
And giving people... Gabe and I have so many ideas for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do, like, sketches.
Yeah.
And, what else? We want to do live events and shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Movie screenings.
Yeah, we want to do screenings, live events. So we have big plans. There are two ambitious guys working on this thing, and each with different skill sets and interests and things, and that's what makes it work. So, thank you for listening or watching, or some of you probably do some hybridized model where you watch some of it, listen.
For sure.
Follow us on TikTok.
Yeah,
follow us on TikTok. Follow us on YouTube. We have a clips channel and a main podcast channel. Oh, please subscribe to the YouTubes, because so many people watch the videos and then don't subscribe, even though they repeatedly watch more, one or more of our videos. If you subscribe, it makes a huge difference for us.
Absolutely.
Please do that. What else? Instagram.
This plug is going on.
This plug, yeah. Movie Addicts Podcast on Instagram.
So.
Let's move. All right,
the real event that everybody showed up for.
Yeah. You want to kick it off?
John Boyega. Breaking.
Yes. In theaters now.
Opened last weekend.
Yes.
Did you have any final thoughts? I don't want to make you feel cut off. How do you feel? You feel good?
I think we got the plug in.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. We got the plug in.
So
I walk out.
No. So let's get some information. Do you want to use my phone?
No, I got it. I got it pulled up.
All right.
So, Breaking, directed by Abby Damaris Corbin, distributed by Bleecker Street. The log line of the film is it's PG-13. It's genre-wise, it's thriller/drama. The log line is desperate for money and running out of options. Marine veteran Brian Brown Easley holds several people hostage inside a bank, setting the stage for a tense confrontation with police. It currently has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 65% on Metacritic, and 88% of users on Google liked this movie. I can't see the Google reviews right now.
Dale, what are your thoughts on Rotten Tomatoes?
I think Rotten Tomatoes is one of the most corruptible, I would say the most corrupt movie review website of all time.
Oh.
Out there.
I thought we were going to say they were honest like us.
No, they're not.
No?
They're extremely dishonest, and they're really always... There's always some sort of agenda with Rotten Tomatoes, isn't there?
Somebody is throwing money at Rotten Tomatoes, and that's the only reason they're still in business right now.
Oh, for sure. So Rotten Tomatoes...
I wonder who owns Rotten Tomatoes.
You're on our radar.
We're coming for you. 5 years from now, everyone's going to go on movieaddicts.com.
We're wrapping it up, Rotten Tomatoes.
That's it.
So, Abby Damaris Corbin directed... Other directing credits include... Actors Anonymous, which is... Sorry, I'm, looking through all this shit. It's a film adaptation of James Franco's novel, Actors Anonymous, exploring the lives of young actors in Hollywood from the highs to the lows to the lies and the heartbreak. So there's multiple directors on that, so she directed, evidently a segment of that. So Breaking is sort of Abby Damaris Corbin's,
It's kind of her breakout.
Yeah, her debut.
Yeah.
So that's good to have in mind. Written by Abby Damaris Corbin and Kwame... I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm sorry. Kwame Kwearma.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's probably close. I'm sorry.
Kwearma.
I'm sorry, Kwame, for fucking that up. Because I definitely fucked up some aspect of it. So interesting, kind of low engagement on IMDb, only 742 ratings for a theatrical. That's...
You said you want at least a couple thousand, right? Within the first week?
You want 1,000 or more.
Was it released last Thursday?
Yeah.
This one is flying under the radar, and in some ways, understandably, John Boyega had killer breakout performance in the Star Wars universe. Granted, in my opinion, I did not like the way his role was written. He does the best he can with the material he's handed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, kind of the same thing happened here. An important story that inspired, a director and a writer. I just feel the execution was lacking. So
interesting note about Kwame, the co-writer.
Yep.
Kwame was born. So Kwame is a he.
Okay.
He is an actor and writer, so has a fair number of acting credits. Cutthroat Island, Breaking. So he's in Breaking.
Wait,
not sure.
Cutthroat Island?
Yeah.
Cutthroat Island is so old.
Yeah, 95 it says. So,
so
has a fair number of acting credits, dating back even to the 80s.
Okay.
So also has writing credits. Apparently a Spike Lee musical Kwame is working on as a writer, and another movie called Marked Man. Huh. So Kwame is seemingly at the beginning of his writing career. So this is really this is basically, you could call it a first-time feature director with a first-time feature writer, it's seeming like.
I feel hesitant to say first-time writer for Kwame just because...
First time getting something made, I'm sorry. Like a feature made, I believe.
Yeah.
What's your caveat to that?
My caveat to that is, whereas the director... What's her name again?
Abby.
Whereas I'm getting a sense from Abby based on her credits.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was wrong about Kwame as well. He wrote a TV movie in 2005.
Yeah, he's been in the game for a long time.
He wrote a couple TV movies, yeah.
I'm sure this is potentially one of his biggest releases.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's where I don't feel like he's necessarily for lack of trying. I just think this is one of the biggest exposures because it's a theatrical release. Like, TV movies can do really well. They can do really well. They're not going to pay as well as a film that has a a studio behind it with
Yes.
a major theatrical
Yes.
release, so he might also be making a lot of coin off this. But to Dale's point, to try and justify the quality of the film that we saw, just something felt off and disappointing because the trailer, basically, spoilers.
Yeah. Spoiler
3,
alert.
2, 1.
We're going to spoil the movie.
Basically, we thought the film was just lacking.
It doesn't work at all, I would say. It's tough. Just to get some of the actors. It stars John Boyega, Nicole Beharie, who I've never seen in anything, plays Estelle, like one of the bank workers. Selenis Leyva plays Rosa Diaz, another one of the bank employees.
Nicole a lot.
I thought they were... The actors in this, to be clear, are good, so we'll get to that. Michael K. Williams, rest in peace, plays Eli Bernard.
Rest in peace?
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah.
How recently?
Last year or so.
So this was one of his last performances.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That's why that was sort of, but I knew
when
that.
he came on screen, I'm like, I recognize that guy, and he's great.
He's great. He's awesome. He's in The Wire. He's great. He's great. Great actor. Rest in peace. Connie Britton, also another great actor, plays Lisa Larson.
Yeah.
And then, from there, like Jeffrey Donovan plays Major Riddick, and we don't need to get into
for sure.
minor players. But, yeah. I don't think this movie really works at all.
The film ended with the saddest note of all time.
Yes.
And in the corner of my eardrum resounded the quietest cackle from Dale's mouth. This guy
What?
I remember, dude, you were like kind of like chuckling /
Wait, at what point?
like angry laughing at the end of the film. You were like
Okay, so I want to explain that. No, it's true.
What? That's it? No.
I went in and I was rooting for the... Here's the thing in the Movie X podcast.
Yes.
We are always rooting for the things to be good. We never go into a movie malicious intent. Never. We went in wanting it to be good. I'm rooting for John Boyega doing something other than Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for, Michael K. Williams is great. Connie Britton's great. These two new actors who I hadn't seen in anything, who play the two, Rosa and
Nicole?
Estelle.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, you named one of them. I had never seen them in anything, and they were both quite good.
Yeah.
And this felt misguided. I would dare to say, like, poorly directed. I would dare to say poorly written.
Can we pause real quick?
Yes.
So, as we know, Dale may have graduated as a screenwriter, but he's also he's got his directorial debut under his belt.
Yes.
Let's talk about the directing, why you think, because I think, we've gone 3 or 4 times now in the podcast saying why we think it's not working, why it's lacking.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's break it down. Let's start with directing. From a directorial standpoint, if you were handed the script for the film of Breaking, watching the film, what is the first thing that appears most weak to you, and what do you think would be a solution?
There's inherent issues to the story. So, the true story, and you have to keep in mind it's a true story about real people. So there's an extra level of responsibility you have there inherently. But then you also have a responsibility to make a good movie.
Okay.
Because you're not honoring these people by making a shit movie at the end of the day. So there's a line that needs to be towed. I got the sense that Abby was adhering far too much to the details of the true story in a way that got in the way of it being a good movie that people want to watch.
Which details felt
this was somehow this movie was boring. Somehow. Which is tough because it's an interesting story with an interesting central character. So it being boring feels almost like sacrilegious to me because it has a baked-in great central character who is this guy, Brian, who fought in Iraq, basically there's a lot of things going on. The suggestion is he had mental health issues. I was gathering.
At the very least,
PTSD,
he was struggling from PTSD.
Yes. Post-traumatic stress disorder. He was in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And the Veterans Affairs Office owed him, the amount of money is revealed late in the movie, but the Veterans Affairs Office owed him money that he desperately needed. And he just got the runaround from them over and over and over again. Which, to me, they made that, Abby and Kwame made that the entire story. Basically the entire story becomes about Veterans Affairs and how shitty they are. That's not a movie. That should be a plot point in the movie, not a beat you hit repeatedly and repeatedly. People will get the point. Like, people have seen, I always say, you have to think about where your movie is situated in the sphere of movies. People have seen a lot of movies. Movies have been around for, we're going on, like, if you want to call it like narrative stuff, like 120 plus years.
Yeah.
People have seen a lot of movies. So you don't need to over-explain certain things. Once they established that the Veterans Affairs Office kept giving him the runaround and that it was negatively affecting his life and that he felt so disrespected and overlooked and so dehumanized by the Veterans Affairs Office, once you establish that we got it. But the movie kept going back to it and back to it and back to it and back to it in a way that felt like you're then patronizing the audience. You're making the audience, you're almost disrespecting the audience because the audience is going to get it like that.
Okay.
They don't need you to feed it to them a million times.
I think I have something to go along with what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's a big inherent problem with this movie. Is it's not honoring the audience's intelligence in any sort of way. And that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough, especially for a theatrical, where all the attention, it's, we talked about Gray Man, where it's like that movie's designed to be watched while you're distracted. What theatricals have to offer is that you want to be immersed in it. Right. You want to be immersed in that world for 100 minutes, 110 minutes, 2 hours, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And you have to want to be in that world for that entire time. I just wanted to leave 30 minutes in.
Which is definitely a failure on the behalf of the writer and the director.
It is. Because John Boyega's there, he's showing up to work.
He is.
All the actors are there to work, and they're good, really good actors with great track records of delivering really good performances.
Yep.
But you can't leave them hanging. You can't leave them hanging with a script that doesn't really work, and with direction that doesn't feel cohesive.
I think, because I'm trying to piece out some of what we're discussing with. So something that stood out to me that you said is that we can't have a film about the fact that the Veteran Affairs sucks, right?
No. What I mean is that can't be the entirety of the film. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It can't be the entirety of the film. And so for a moment I'm sitting here and I'm like, there's got to be another movie out there that takes something that failed society or people in society.
Dog Day Afternoon was the original heist movie that did it, but yeah.
I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah.
Outside of the heist genre.
Yeah.
More so the establishment failing the little guy. A recent film in memory is The Big Short.
Yeah, Adam McKay.
And so I think, shout out to Adam McKay.
Good movie.
I'm thinking on the difference between The Big Short and Breaking is that Breaking establishes that the Veteran Affairs stinks. And it makes the mistake that the entire film has to be around the event, which is supposedly the central conflict of the film. In the film Breaking, basically what happens is John Boyega, do you remember the character's name?
Brian.
Yeah. Brian has been put, hello, Pop. No, Brian has been put through so much runaround and distress.
And I do feel that part of the movie I really felt for him. It's tough, really tough.
So much bureaucratic tape he was put through that he felt he needed to really get people's attention.
By robbing a bank.
By robbing a bank. He goes to the bank. He has a bomb in his backpack. He tells everybody.
Which, by the way, they reveal later he never had a bomb. It was made up. But anyway.
And so he tells everybody in the bank to call the police, call the fire departments, calls a newspaper. And through one way or another, eventually he does get everybody to show up. And I believe the writers and the directors make the mistake. To Dale's point, it could be both, but they didn't do both well. It's veteran fares, and it's the robbing of the bank.
Yeah.
And as of right now, if we compare this to The Big Short, the majority of the film is spent leading up to the moment of the financial crisis, and throughout the film there are narrative points there are points at which the characters give a present day context. They do flashbacks. They am I correct here? That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
And so, but they always find a way to everything is leading up to the moment of crisis.
Yes.
So I almost feel like they really wanted the central conflict to be the robbing the bank, where maybe the way the film should have been written is that the robbing of the bank should have been the final act, the last 30 minutes, and everything else should have been, there's a man who's home from war and he seems like a great father.
Yes.
Suddenly he goes to Veteran Affairs and they're not helping him. Oh, that's weird. He goes back home. Oh, now we're realizing that he's not home. He's in his wife's house, who's technically his ex-wife, and his daughter, who he's not allowed to live with. Okay, he goes back out, goes to the ATM. There's no money coming out. Why? Because he still has no money. And it could almost be like a Michael Douglas, and what's that film, Falling Down?
The Game, you mean?
No, the film Falling Down. Michael Douglas in the film.
I've never
seen it. I think it's mid-'90s. Basically, this man, it's kind of almost melodramatic at how ridiculous it gets. But Michael Douglas plays a regular guy whose wife is leaving him. And from the beginning of the film onward, we should really watch this film.
I would love to watch it.
Things get worse and worse. It starts with somebody basically honking at him in traffic. And from every moment from then on, just one step after the other, he goes from a businessman that decides to not go to work, and like by the end of the film he's got weapons, he's like ready to hold people hostage, he's like really losing it. And it's actually just like this film, because spoiler alert, oh man, I don't want to spoil it for you though. Basically there's a final moment of crisis at the apex of the film, and you find out that whatever weapon he was going to use in the same way with John Boyega and the bomb, whatever weapon he was going to use, there's a red herring. There's something unexpected that takes place. And so in this case, it's just kind of like disappointing that they chose to Dale's point, because I know I'm talking in circles.
It's all good. You're not talking, you're getting at something. Basically,
Dale made a very knee-jerk reaction, which I was kind of annoyed with when I first spoke with him walking out of the theater.
You were annoyed with my reaction.
Now it does resonate with me that the film could have been done as a documentary, because it spends so much time on exposition and on bureaucratic tape and office time, when it should have been spending time with the character basically descending into it, having to make a decision that is irreversible, and then the consequences of that decision he made.
So you now agree with my take that it probably should have been, if you wanted to tell the story the way they told it, it should be a documentary.
The way they told the story, yes, but I do think there is a successful way to pull off breaking.
Yes, there is, but they didn't do it, and they clearly didn't want to do it.
And now, like, again, maybe I'm just like, jerking myself off or being arrogant, but I really think my suggestion of you spend the film setting up all the pieces in his life and what he wants. Like, you really need, like, you don't really know what this guy wants other than, like, give me my money. People don't know, they don't understand my plight. We really need to show, like, even more how much he loves his daughter, even more how much he cares about his country, even more how much he misses his wife, even more. Maybe there's friends in his life too.
All the things in this that will are supposed to tug on your heartstrings don't end up tugging on your heartstrings because you're not immersed enough in those things.
You're not immersed in
his relationship with his ex-wife. You're not immersed enough in his relationship with his daughter. And so you don't get invested. And so it's like, if you're going to try to pay those things off in a way that makes us feel like, oh, fuck, this is really tragic, they're not going to pay off.
You know what?
Because we aren't invested anyway.
You know what I think happened?
What?
I'm thinking on it now. The writer and the director probably thought, oh, what a good idea. Nobody pays attention to him.
which is a good idea, by the way.
But what they did
But
is
that should last for like 5 minutes.
they doubled down on the fact that nobody pays attention.
Yes.
And they were repeating the beat throughout the film that, who are you? We don't care who you are. Even the wife kind of has a weird apathetic vibe. The only person who really shows feelings towards the man.
I have to say, though, I have to admit, I felt for the wife. Because I imagine she's been through a lot of shit with this guy. To her credit. Like, I was like, I bet you that it was tough. I bet you, like, their separation was tough. I bet you, like, he was having some serious mental health. I feel, I empathize with her
from an
where she was coming
standpoint,
from.
Sure. But the way the film was directed and written,
the
majority of the wife's relationship to the man is over the phone.
Yep.
Not in person.
Yes.
She's doing laundry while talking to him.
Yes.
Watching him on the TV as if he's a stranger. Do you understand what
so
I'm
that's
saying?
I think that's what they were trying to. I think that's the point.
Right. It is the point.
But it's not it's not a massive enough point to revolve the entire movie around it. Your whole movie doesn't hinge on that point. That can be like a little layer in your movie. But that's what I always say. We always talk about textures, right? That's a texture. That's not the story.
I think that's got to be the end of the film.
Yeah,
like
totally.
The beginning of the film could be flashbacks of how great things were, how they met, why they were still trying to make it work, why the daughter is the center of their lives.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be a love that is so undeniable.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, when her only connection to this man is looking at the TV screen about some guy who robbed the bank and just got shot dead, and how impersonal and...
Did you have the timer set?
No, I did not. I'll go check it. Good call. I mean, we're still recording on the audio.
Yeah.
Here, hold that.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Because it's at 36.
Great.
Where are we at?
Oh, it was that same way. We're good.
Okay. So we didn't even lose any video?
We lost probably 7 minutes, whatever
Okay.
you said. Let me get my headphones on.
The Naked Cameramen are at it again. We're back with the Movie Addicts podcast.
The Naked Cameraman strikes again.
We had to fire another. We fired
Sports
those.
are killing me today.
We fired the two guys that Chase Crawford hired.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go.
I'm gonna lose it.
It's not actually. Nothing's happening.
It's all right. We're doing.
Boy.
How do they say it?
It's hot.
Difficulties. It's hot.
It's hot.
Hello, lady.
Um.
So anyway, we're getting at. Okay, so originally we were going to break it down directorially and story-wise. The film is misguided from the top. They spend way too much time on exposition, not establishing strong relationships. Why don't you talk a little bit more on literal cinematic storytelling? Is there anything like the use of the frame, the pacing, the editing? Did something feel short in your opinion?
The sound design was deliberately really, really spare. The only film I could think of that I've seen where the sound design was this spare was a movie called Demolition, directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, rest in peace, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. I believe Jake Gyllenhaal. And it's about a man. Demolition is a movie about a man whose life has completely fallen apart, and he's trying to rebuild it. And I think the sound design is used as a story device to, uses like a theme, actually a thematic device, to work with theme. And I think that's what the sound design in this movie was trying to do. The problem is, I didn't really understand. I understood in moments why it was so spare. And by spare, I mean stripped down. There's not a ton of sound in the soundscape. Everything's operating like at a pretty low decibel, volume-wise. Nothing's super lush. It's all very stripped down, bureaucratic, whatever. Cool choice to make. For an entire feature film, I don't think it's an amazing choice to make. Because what ends up happening is that the audience isn't stimulated. Their imaginations aren't stimulated. Their senses aren't stimulated enough. And so I think that's probably part of the reason I got bored, too, is there's nothing in the sound design to keep you interested.
Which again goes back to the like we're trying to make this as lifelike as possible.
Yeah.
And the naturalistic approach. Unfortunately, the naturalistic approach, in my opinion, didn't work. Partially because if it was really trying to be naturalistic,
Yeah.
they did twice in the film a storytelling device where the protagonist goes from the present moment to a flashback, and just flashbacks felt very
Thin.
They felt thin, but in order to get there, it required like fancy camera movements and like a bit of like, what do you call it? Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to do that. And well, who am I to say rules? But my first instinct is if you're trying to really create a naturalist cinematic experience, you're not putting people through heightened, or I don't know what would you say. You would not be using like magical literary devices or whatever.
Yes.
Not literary is not quite the right word, but you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do. So, I mean, the sound design in this felt like a swing and a miss. Definitely a swing, because there's an attempt to do something there that's creative and artistic.
Some of the music, when it was in,
the music all the score felt stock to me.
Sometimes it was a little distracting.
It felt stock to me. It felt like it was pulled off of like freesound.org.
Damn. Shots fired, baby.
That was tough.
Dude, somebody wrote that shit, man.
What?
To be fair, people write the music on freesounds.org as well, so.
Yeah, but like, I think there's no excuse these days for having a shitty score. Sorry.
If Dale can get a score on a budget,
there are so many musicians out there who want to make movie scores who are interesting and talented, and they're not like looking to make $1 zillion. Like, they're just out there want to make music. Right. So there's no excuse to have a shitty, boring score, which this has. Cinematography is pretty solid. A lot of really deep framing. A lot of really like.
Deep framing is being able to see the foreground and the background.
Yeah, and then it's sort of like there are moments where we are, even when, and I think that's meant to, the deep framing is like sort of maintained also, even when we're pushing it on Brian or when we're getting closer to Brian. Like, you know, there's definitely a lot of use of wider lenses here. And I think the reason is because you want Brian to feel or seem he is overwhelmed, so you want the audience to feel overwhelmed with him. Again, a big swing, it's overused, we get the point very quickly. Basically the entire cinematographic approach is sort of hinges on it. That's, I think, a big theme in this movie in terms of its creative failures, is like there are like a handful of good ideas in here, and those ideas are recycled, reused over and over again over the course of the movie. So nothing feels you've seen something once and then they'll show it to you 5 more times, which is not a great experience for an audience to have.
It almost makes me feel like, though, just thinking on it now, they really must have had budget limitations.
Absolutely.
If you think about it, they shot.
Of course they did. Yeah.
3/4, 3/5 of the film in a single location.
Yeah. Still a bad excuse.
Still a bad excuse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does make me wonder, like, how much money did they have for a? Oh, interesting. I was going to say, how much money did they have for a composer? How much money did they have for an art director? Things of that nature. And then it makes me think, like, did they spend all the money on John Boyega? Is that what happened?
I mean, there's some actors in here who probably have high rates. Connie Britton's rate is probably not cheap.
Yeah.
Michael K. Williams' rate is also probably not cheap. Who else? John Boyega is definitely not cheap because he's been in fucking Star Wars. So
yeah.
Who am I forgetting actor-wise that wouldn't? Yeah. So I mean, I think. Yeah, there's not that much to talk about with this movie. It's just like doesn't work. I don't know if you want to throw anything else.
No.
It is tough.
I'm trying to give people as much of an idea as to why, like, rather than just shitting on it like we did with the Gray Man.
No, we always try to give
Gray
a little
Man,
nuanced.
Gray Man was kind of fun to make fun of.
But the Gray Man, the reason we were so mad about the Gray Man is because $200-odd million, all these stars, all this talent, and you can't put something, all these resources and talent, and you can't put something together that's
not
compelling.
Only that, the Gray Man, I think, suffers from, like, it almost feels like intentional stupidity. Like, really, you're going to look at the script and say 350 corny one-liners is okay. Like, at the very least, Breaking is not filled with corny one-liners.
No, Breaking to its credit is fully immersing itself in its approach.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the problem. Is, like, there's, like, I would say they probably figured out what, like, a third of the movie could be, like you're saying. But then there needs to be the other 2/3. Like, we're hitting it, it's what's called repeated beats. Like, they're hitting the same beats over and over again.
Yeah.
Emotionally, plot-wise, thematically, and it's just so exhausting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. I wouldn't say there are very many scenes in this movie that really work at all, which is tough, and that's a directing issue.
Yeah.
A director needs to know how to put together a compelling scene that moves the story forward and explains, is tied into what just happened before and what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. And that's just not happening in this movie. Maybe there were a few scenes in here that worked. I can't really think of them off the top of my head. Yeah. Tough.
Let's think. What else?
It does, and it sucks too that this was John Boyega's leap over to something that could be that was like a sort of something different for him.
Yeah, I would say at the very least, I hope anybody who's watching this film out there doesn't think the film doesn't do well because of John Boyega.
No,
I would love that
right.
If studio execs are like, what if I need a John Boyega type in my next film? Did his last performance get enough people in the theaters? Did the film turn a profit? La-di-da. If it didn't, was it because of him? Like, I just don't think that's true.
Because he's a really good actor.
Yeah, and so I think, of course, he already has tons of notoriety, so other things will be put on his desk. But I don't want there to be a gap in things on his desk because of this film.
By the way, I don't think there will be.
There won't be.
There won't be.
But see, the next question is, what next project will he take?
It's got to be a good one.
Because whoever put this on his desk and told him to go for it, it must have looked really good on paper.
Yeah, and now,
Unless tit for tat, like, hey, do this and we'll give you something
Here's
else.
the thing about this movie. I don't think people are going to see this movie. I don't think people are going to want to see it. I don't think people are going to recommend it to other people.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to want to spend their money on it. Tough. It's an L. It's an L. I don't really care what Rotten Tomatoes says. 81%.
It's
what?
Not an L. It's a C. This is a certified cock-up, ladies and gentlemen.
So is that your official submission?
Not only is it my official submission, I think we might have to give a 60-second moment of silence.
Yeah, let's have a moment of silence for Breaking, please.
We're starting now. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Breaking.
Rest in peace, Breaking.
Miss you. I miss you dearly.
Gone too soon.
Rest in peace, Breaking. this was a swing and a big miss. And it was a swing. It was a swing, so I want to give credit where credit's due. This was a swing.
And I do want to point out, at the very least, if it is any bit possible that this film brings some conversation surrounding veteran affairs, that at least would be a tick in the direction of heaven, or whatever you want to call the direction at which society should be moving. Because,
to be clear, that issue feels really important. Our review of this movie is not invalidating the importance of that issue. It is important. I really feel for the real guy and what he went through. The issue being Veterans Affairs not being an actual resource for veterans after they serve for this country and then return, are promised. They are promised payments of and benefits of different varieties, and then they're not. They don't. Those things aren't actually rendered to them. Bureaucracies, the VA bureaucracy finds ways around having to pay them.
Yeah,
and that's not fair.
Sometimes it's not even malintent. Part of the crux of the film is that there was an accident and filing something.
Yes,
which is even worse.
Yes,
a man's life was basically broken because somebody just forgot.
Yeah. And that shit is tragic, but it belongs. I think if they were going to take this approach to the movie, it should have been a documentary,
with reenactments with John Boyega, of course.
Yeah, I mean that was an interesting idea that you had. So the story is not uninteresting or unimportant. It is both things, but the movie does not execute. So that's all we have to say on Breaking, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I mean. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about 51 minutes into the movie.
This might be one of the shortest Movie Addicts episodes ever.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to pivot and do any pitches? Do you want to talk about maybe perhaps?
I'm sweating a lot.
Guys, all right. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call it a wrap today. We hope you had an amazing Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
And me and Dale are shooting this the Friday before Labor Day, so if you got time, wish us a happy Labor Day as well. We're going to go on an adventure north of L.A. to a little lake, and we're going to check out.
Yeah, we're going to check out. Thank you. This was the Movie Addicts podcast. I'm Dale.
And I'm Gabe.
And thank you very much, and I hope you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, as Gabe said.
Heck yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
All right, we'll see you on the next one. Oh, what film are we doing next?
We haven't, have we decided?
I thought about 1,000 years. You thinking about doing that?
3,000 years of longing.
Years?
I think that's the one we should do.
I just want to do it.
I think, and I have a feeling we're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if we're wrong, we're wrong. But I have a feeling we're going to enjoy it.
Stick around next week for.
Idris Elba, Tilda Swinton, 3,000 Years of Longing. We'll see you next time.
This is the
Movie Addicts podcast.
Bye.
Oh, this one's going to be a hit. Max.
We're gonna get more sounds. We're gonna get more sounds for you too.
We're gonna get more sounds.
We promise.
Don't worry.